Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. We're back with our patrons Jordan and Garner with another incredible Mox Pearl game. Jordan showed us a spicy new brew while Garner brought a tried and true classic. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First we have Alex, piloting Tergrid, God of Fright. This is a mid-range value deck that uses stacks and leverages Tergrid's ability to reuse its opponent's permanents. His opening hand contains a Blood Pet, Phyrexian Revoker, Toxic Deluge, Tanglewire, 2 Snow-Covered Swamps, and his London Mulligan is a Sands of Time. Next we have Zach, piloting the partner pair of Timna the Weaver and Crom Ludovic's Opus. This deck seeks to gain card advantage with its commanders before winning with Underworld Breach or Thassa's Oracle. His opening hand contains a Felwar Stone, Jeweled Lotus, Fierce Guardianship, Ad Nauseam, Morphic Pool, Misty Rainforest, and his London Mulligan is a Necropotence. After that we have Garner, piloting Winota, Joiner of Forces. This deck stacks out the board, breaking parity, and beating down the table with its army of creatures. His opening hand contains a Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, Blazing Rootwalla, Teferi's Protection, Thalia, Heretic Cathar, Goblin Assault, Plateau, and a Care Keep. Finally, we have Jordan, piloting Rocco, Cabaretti Caterer. This deck tries to assemble infinite mana and wins with a combo fetchable through its commander. His opening hand contains an Elvish Mystic, Soul Ring, Jeska's Will, Walking Ballista, Plains, Wooded Foothills, and a Plateau. We as Magic players love fantasy epics, complex and robust gameplay, and new challenges every day. And that's why we love the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is the best fantasy MMORPG out there, and Commander players will love it. Use my QR code or the links below to download Raid yourself to your mobile phone or PC. Do you like elves like Selvala, Marwyn, or Nath? Because Raid has a faction called High Elves. They formed their civilization over 1,000 years ago, fighting off orc rampages and the collapse of the Lizard Man Empire, which is a whole other story in and of itself. Then comes Seroth, who corrupted them and created the Dark Elves, obsessed with power. They attempted to convert the entire kingdom of Aravia to shadow magic, but were caught, launching a brutal civil war. In the end, the Dark Elves got exiled, Aravia rebuilt, and are now one of the richest and most powerful countries in the realm of Teleria. As a CEDH player, one of the things that drew me into Raid was not just the variety of champions, but how much gear can change how your champion behaves in battle. Just like swapping out the cards in your deck, gear can affect your offense or defense of your champions. Getting new champions and leveling up your champions is so satisfying. They have a great XP and energy system. I never found myself starving for resources in the game. I could keep leveling up my champions and gaining new champions as I progressed. This month, Trunda Guiltmalik gets all new skins. They are adding 5 awesome new champions to their roster. They are also overhauling their champion vault too. There has never been a better time to get started. New players, use my link or scan the QR code right here and get a free starter pack worth almost $30, a free champion Aina, and also this cool in-game loot. You will find your rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. Without further ado, let's begin this allowing anchored activity of Awe-Inspiration. Alex screamed the loudest and gets to start us off. Alex draws a card for turn and plays a Snow-Covered Swamp. He casts Blood Pet and passes the turn. Zach draws a card for turn and plays a Morphic Pool. He casts a Mana Vault. He sends the turn to Garner. Garner draws and plays a Plateau. He casts Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer. He ships the turn. Jordan draws and plays a Wooded Foothills. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Taiga onto the battlefield. He casts Elvish Mystic. He ends the turn. Alex draws and plays a Snow-Covered Swamp. He sacrifices Blood Pet, adding a black. He casts Tanglewire. The table groans as they strap in for a long game, and Alex gives the turn to Zach. During Zach's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tanglewire. During his draw step, he takes a damage through his Mana Vault. He draws and plays a Gemstone Caverns. He passes. During Garner's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tanglewire. He draws and plays Care Keep. He ends his turn. During Jordan's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tanglewire. He draws and plays Turn Timber, Serpentine Wood into play tapped. All through, he passes the turn. During Alex's upkeep, he removes a counter from Tanglewire, then taps his permanents through Tanglewire. He draws and plays a Snow-Covered Swamp. He casts Lion's Eye Diamond. Having locked down everybody's board, including his own, he ships the turn to Zach. During Zach's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tanglewire. During his draw step, he takes a damage through his Mana Vault. He plays a Misty Rainforest. Zach gives the turn to Garner. During Garner's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tanglewire. He draws, and thanks to Tanglewire, he has nothing to do, so he passes. During Jordan's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tanglewire. He draws and plays a Plains. He casts Soul Ring. Ready for his next turn, he passes to Alex. During Alex's upkeep, he removes a counter from Tanglewire, then taps his permanents through Tanglewire. He draws and plays a Snow-Covered Swamp. He casts Feed the Swarm, targeting Ragavan. Ragavan is destroyed, and Alex loses a life. He sacrifices his Lion's Eye Diamond, discards his hand, and adds 3 black. He casts his commander, Tergrid, God of Fright. He passes the turn to Zach. During Zach's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tangle Wire. During his draw step, he takes a damage from his Mana Vault. He cracks his Misty Rainforest, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. Tergrid triggers, and Alex puts Misty Rainforest onto the battlefield from Zach's graveyard. Zach casts Mana Crypt. He follows it up with a Felwar Stone. He casts Jeweled Lotus. He sacks his Jeweled Lotus to help cast his commander, Crom, Ludovic's Opus. Tergrid triggers, and Alex puts Jeweled Lotus onto the battlefield. Zach moves to combat and attacks Alex with Crom. Alex takes it, and Zach ends his turn. During Garner's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tangle Wire. He draws, and with nothing else going on, he passes the turn, discarding the hand size. When he discards Blazing Root Walla into exile and then casts it for its madness cost. It resolves, then the turn moves to Jordan. During Jordan's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tangle Wire. He draws and plays a Plateau. He casts Carpet of Flowers. He moves to a second main phase and then adds a green through his carpet. He casts Fauna Shaman. Crom triggers and Zach draws. All through, Jordan ships the turn. During Alex's upkeep, he removes a counter from his Tangle Wire and then taps his permanents through Tangle Wire. He draws and casts Liliana of the Veil. He activates Liliana's first ability and then everyone discards a card. Tergrid triggers and Alex puts Dress Down onto the battlefield from Zach's graveyard. Dress Down enters and Alex draws. Alex passes to Zach. At the end of Alex's turn, Dress Down is sacrificed. During Zach's upkeep, he taps his permanents through Tangle Wire. Also during his upkeep, he wins his Mana Crypt roll. During his draw step, he takes a damage through his Mana Vault. He draws and casts Ad Nauseam. With no other answers from his opponents, Ad Naus resolves. Zach reveals a Lion's Eye Diamond, Demonic Tutor, Enlightened Tutor, Arcane Signet, Watery Grave, Hallowed Fountain, City of Brass, Thassa's Oracle, Mnemonic Betrayal, Flusterstorm, Arid Mesa, Vampiric Tutor, Simian Spirit Guide, Polluted Delta, Badlands, Demonic Consultation, Toxic Deluge, Ponder, Mox Opal, Esper Sentinel, Lotus Petal, Savine's Reclamation, Talisman of Curiosity, Island, Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, and decides to stop there. He casts Mox Opal. He follows it up with a Lotus Petal. He plays an island for turn. He casts Thassa's Oracle. It enters and, in response, Zach cracks his Lotus Petal, adding a black. Tergrid triggers and Alex puts Lotus Petal onto the battlefield from Zach's graveyard. Zach casts Demonic Consultation, naming Hypnox, and exiles his entire library. Thassa's Oracle trigger resolves, and Zach wins the game. Well, since that was such a quick game, let's get some more Mox Pearls in and play tonight. In this game, we brought in Mox Pearl patrons Sean and Zane to play with us tonight. First, we have Cal piloting the partner pair of Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator and Tana the Bloodsower. This deck, called Teamer Pirates, seeks to end the game quickly with either a Glenhorn Malcolm combo or a Dualcaster Twin Flame combo. Cal's opening hand contains a Lotus Petal, Professional Facebreaker, Command Tower, Scalding Tarn, and his 3 London Mulligans are Waterlogged Grove, Dualcaster Mage, and a Wandering Archaic. Next, we have Sean piloting the partner pair of Thrasios Triton Hero and Bruised Taro Boorish Herder. This deck seeks to grind advantage and win with one of the deck's many layered combos. Sean's opening hand contains a Command Tower, Waterlogged Grove, Force of Negation, Resculpt, Basalt Monolith, Arbor Elf, and a Dockside Extortionist. After that, we have Zane piloting the partner pair of Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator and Vile Smasher the Fierce. This deck seeks to do the same thing as Cal's deck, but it does it with black cards too. Zane's opening hand contains a Gemstone Caverns, an Offer You Can't Refuse, Fierce Guardianship, Vampiric Tutor, Dockside Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, and a Magda Brazen Outlaw. Finally, we have Noah piloting the partner pair of Krark the Thumbless and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. Krarkashima make a lot of Krark, big storm, win game. Noah's opening hand contains a Gemstone Caverns, Mana Confluence, Otawara Soaring City, Ancient Tomb, Mana Vault, Cyclonic Rift, and a Mindbreak Trap. And Cal gets to start us off. But Zane and Noah have pre-game actions. Zane puts a Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling an Offer You Can't Refuse. Apparently, he could refuse it. And then Noah puts a Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling Mana Confluence. Cal draws and plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tropical Island onto the battlefield. He casts a Lotus Petal and passes the turn. Sean draws and plays a Command Tower. He casts an Arbor Elf. He passes. At the end of Sean's turn, Zane casts a Vampiric Tutor. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. Zane draws and casts a Mana Crypt. He casts a Jeweled Lotus. He casts his commander, Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator. He casts Magda Brazen Outlaw. With a huge start in the books, Zane ends his turn. Noah draws and plays an Ancient Tomb. He taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast a Mana Vault. He casts his commander, Krark the Thumbless. Noah gives the turn to Cal. Cal draws and plays a Command Tower. He casts his own Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator. Cal passes. Sean draws and plays a Waterlogged Grove. He taps his Grove to help cast his commander, Thrasios Triton Hero. Sean ends his turn. During his upkeep, Zane wins his Mana Crypt roll. He draws and moves to combat. He attacks Noah with Malcolm and Magda. Magda triggers and Zane creates a treasure. Noah takes it and Malcolm triggers, creating another treasure. All through, Zane passes. Noah draws and plays an Otawara, Soaring City. He casts his other commander, Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. It enters as a copy of Krark. Noah passes to Cal. Cal draws and moves to combat. He attacks Zane with Malcolm. Zane takes it and Malcolm triggers, creating a treasure. In his second main phase, Cal casts Professional Facebreaker. Cal ships the turn to Sean. Sean draws and plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Taiga onto the battlefield. He casts a Dockside Extortionist. It enters and Sean creates 4 treasures. He taps his Waterlogged Grove to help cast a Devoted Druid. Sean passes. During his upkeep, Zane loses his Mana Crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws and casts his own Dockside Extortionist. It enters, and with a trigger on the stack, Sean cracks his treasures. Then Zane creates 1 lowly treasure, which feels extra bad. Zane attempts to move to combat, and in response, Sean uses his floating mana to help activate Thrasios. He scries 1 and reveals a volcanic island onto the battlefield tapped. Then Zane attacks Noah with Magda and Malcolm. Magda triggers and creates a treasure. Noah takes it, and Malcolm triggers, creating another treasure. In his second main phase, Zane sacrifices 5 treasures to activate Magda. He fetches up a Bolas' Citadel onto the battlefield. He looks at the top card of his library. He pays 3 life to cast Necropotence off of the top of his library through Citadel, which is quite frankly a really fantastic card to hit. In response, Noah taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast Cyclonic Rift, targeting Bolas' Citadel. Krark and Sakashima trigger. He loses his first flip, returning Rift to his hand. He wins his second flip, copying Rift, targeting Citadel. In response, Zane casts Fierce Guardianship for its alternate cost, targeting the copy of Cyclonic Rift. In response, Noah casts Mindbreak Trap for its alternate cost, targeting Necropotence and Fierce Guardianship. Krark and Sakashima trigger. Noah loses both flips, returning Mindbreak Trap to his hand. He recasts Mindbreak Trap. Krark and Sakashima trigger. Noah wins both, copying it 2 times with the same targets for each copy. With nothing else, Mindbreak Trap resolves, exiling Necro and Fierce, the copies fizzle, then the Cyclonic Rift copy resolves, bouncing Bolas' Citadel back to Zane's hand. With his win attempt foiled by those pesky Krarks, Zane passes the turn. During his draw step, Noah takes the damage from his Mana Vault. He plays an Arid Mesa for turn. He taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast Krark's Thumb. He cracks his Arid Mesa, pays a life, and fetches up a volcanic island onto the battlefield. Noah ends his turn. Cal draws and casts Keen Sense, targeting his Malcolm. He moves to combat and attacks Noah with Malcolm and Zane with Professional Facebreaker. Both take it, and Malcolm, Facebreaker, and Keen Sense all trigger. Cal creates 3 treasures and draws a card. In his second main phase, Cal activates Facebreaker, sacrificing a treasure, exiling Wandering Archaic off of the top of his library. He casts Eternal Witness. It enters, and Cal returns Scalding Tarn from his graveyard to his hand. He plays Scalding Tarn as his land for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a volcanic island onto the battlefield. All through, Cal ships the turn to Sean. Sean draws and casts Brainstorm. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top. He casts Swift Reconfiguration, targeting his Devoted Druid. This is a big problem, so in response, Noah casts Cyclonic Rift, targeting Devoted Druid. Krark and Sakashima trigger. In response to the triggers, Sean floats a green with Devoted Druid. He activates Devoted Druid, putting a -1/-1 counter on it, untapping it. He then floats another green. Then the Krark triggers resolve. Noah flips 2 for each trigger through Krark's Thumb. Noah selects Bounce with the first trigger and then Copy with the second. Then Devoted Druid bounces and Swift Reconfiguration fizzles. Next, Sean taps his Waterlogged Grove to help cast Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. He follows it up with a Basalt Monolith. In response, Cal casts an Offer You Can't Refuse. Basalt is countered and Sean creates 2 treasures. A mildly irritated Sean sacks a treasure for double green through Kinnan and recasts Devoted Druid. Sean finally ends his turn. During his upkeep, Zane loses his Mana Crypt roll and takes 3 damage. He draws and plays a Bloodstained Mire. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. He moves to combat and attacks Noah with Malcolm and Magda and Cal with Dockside. Magda triggers and Zane creates a treasure. They both take it, Malcolm triggers, and Zane creates 2 more treasures. In his second main phase, he recasts Bolas' Citadel. In response, Sean casts Force of Negation, exiling a blue card, countering and exiling Citadel. Thwarted again, Zane passes. During his draw step, Noah takes the damage from his Mana Vault. He moves to combat and attacks Zane with Sakashima. Zane takes it, and in his second main phase, Noah casts Light Up the Stage for its Spectacle cost. Krark and Sakashima trigger. Noah double rolls and chooses Copy. It resolves, and Noah exiles Desperate Ritual and exiles Pyroblast off at the top of his library. His second Krark trigger resolves, Noah double rolls and chooses Copy again. Noah exiles Dualcaster Mage and exiles Veyran, Voice of Duality. Then the original Light Up the Stage resolves, and Noah exiles Brainstorm and Springleaf Drum. He taps his Ancient Tomb to help cast Springleaf Drum. He casts Desperate Ritual from exile. Krark and Sakashima trigger. Noah double rolls, chooses Bounce, then double rolls and chooses Copy. He adds 3 red. He recasts Desperate Ritual. Krark and Sakashima trigger. Noah double rolls, choosing Copy, creating 3 red, then double rolls, choosing Bounce, returning it to his hand. He casts Desperate Ritual again. He double rolls for both triggers, copies, and bounces, and adds 3 more red. He casts Veyran, Voice of Duality. He casts Brainstorm. Krark and Sakashima trigger twice through Veyran. Noah double rolls for all 4, choosing to copy 3 times and bounce for 1. He draws 3 and puts 2 back on top 3 times. He casts Chrome Mox, imprinting Brainstorm. He casts Solve the Equation. Krark and Sakashima trigger twice each. Noah double rolls, bouncing it. He double rolls, copying it. He fetches up a Strike It Rich into his hand. He double rolls, copying it. He fetches up a Gamble into his hand. He double rolls, copying it one last time. He fetches up a Brightstone Ritual into his hand. He casts Brightstone Ritual. Krark and Sakashima trigger twice each. Noah double rolls for all 4, choosing to copy 3 times and bounce once. He adds 12 red. Noah casts Gamble. Krark and Sakashima each trigger twice. Noah double rolls, bouncing it. He double rolls, copying it. He fetches up a card into his hand and randomly discards a Desperate Ritual. He double rolls, copying it. He fetches up a card into his hand and randomly discards a Grape Shot. He double rolls one last time, copying it. He fetches up a card into his hand and then randomly discards a Remand. Noah casts Stormkiln Artist. He casts Underworld Breach. He escapes Grape Shot from his graveyard with all copies targeting Zane. Stormkiln Artist triggers and creates, a lot of treasures. Noah then presents a loop of casting Grape Shot, copying and bouncing it to his hand through Krark and Sakashima. If he gets unlucky and it ends up in his graveyard, he just escapes it and continues the chain. He does this over and over until the table is dead, and Noah wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what a unique and fun set of matches tonight. Congrats to Zach and Noah on their wins. In Game 1, just when it felt like everybody would start jostling for position with the Tango Wire winding down, Zach pulled out a fast win. He leveraged the time he gained from Tango Wire to sculpt his hand and go for the win. In Game 2, Noah was just completely on fire. No matter what people tried to do, Noah was there with all the answers. He played so well and demonstrated why this deck is so powerful. A big thanks to all of our Mox Pearl patrons tonight. We love playing games with them, and we would love to play with you too. If spots are available, sign up for Mox Pearl and be on an episode. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.